Thank you, Bimbo, for taking time out to join me this evening with this chat. My first question is going to be about our country, Niger. I wanted to ask you, what do you think the problem is? Is it actually the question of leadership, or is there something more than that?
Thank you, Shuke, for having me. I'm really glad to have this chat with you. Funny enough, I just had a conversation with somebody who was part of Buhari's key team last year, 2015 elections, and we had a very long discussion. And at the end of it, I asked, "Do you see any hope for Nigeria?"
Mm.
And he said, "Well, no matter how bad things are right now, we have to keep pushing. We don't have the luxury of giving up." So yeah, if you say what exactly is the problem, Nigeria's problem is very, 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 very complicated. Like you listen to some things insiders say of the things that they see in high places, and you begin to ask yourself, is this country going to survive at all? Mm. I think first of all there's leadership problem. Like Ashibe said in his book, the trouble with Nigeria is leadership. And then you find people now and then they try to dispute his ideas about whether it's leadership or not.
Mm.
But they still always arrive at the same thing at the end of the day, right? Like the ideas he expressed that we have trouble with leadership. It's still it's that point where they arrive at, because you might say, okay, it's all the historical factor, it's cultural factors, it's so many things. You try to put it together, but at the end of the day, you still come to that important thing. Like, we don't have very good leaders. We have leaders who have always been not even third rate, always fifth rate. From the history of Nigeria, from the beginning to right from independence, when you had some semblance of people who had some ideological thoughts, intellectual, philosopher kings like Zeke, like Awolowo. But you
Yeah.
look at the present crop of leadership now, you see people who are consumed with ethnicity, with religion, pandering to those they call the so-called owners of Nigeria. You find people who don't have a vision, and that's one of my biggest problems with Buhari. He's somebody who doesn't have any idea, anything. He's so backward. He's stuck in the 1980s, and in 2016, you want a leadership, you want a president who can look ahead, somebody who can understand the times. There's this place in the Bible that says the sons of Issachar, they are the men that understand the times, right? You want leaders that can say, okay, where are we now? What's the temporality we are right now? And now where can we go from here?
Yeah.
You want somebody that understands the complexity of things, right? Not just somebody that just sees things in black and white. Somebody that understands, like, look, we are at this crucial point in our history where we are supposed to be making certain changes, certain restructuring, certain reformations, and somebody that has ideas and is pushing towards that. Not just people that just say banal things, right? Release press statements, wake up today and just say some simple, very simplistic things. You
Mm.
get, you look at things like corruption, for instance, now, you look at the way Nigeria has been trying to fight corruption. There is no intellectualism to it. You can't fight corruption by simply going to arrest people, breaking down doors and things. Those are like old methods, right? You
Okay.
have to, right, leadership that looks ahead and says, how can we do these things and then build structures that will last, right? How do we not even just to arrest people and throw them in jail, but how do we control corruption? And then you begin to look at all the loops, the holes in our system, and say, this is how we feel it. This is where we are going to put. We're going to build these institutions. We're going to strengthen this institution. We're going to make laws. We're going to make reformulations. You don't get to see all those things. So I think
But
at the end of the day, yeah.
some people will argue that there are institutions in place built to fight corruption. Someone like Buhari has come in place to instill the discipline needed to move the country forward. And people would also argue that the preceding or people like Jonathan and Obasanjo and all that have contributed to the endemic corruption in the system. So there's a need for purgation as at the moment. So I mean, some people would want to argue in that direction. So I mean, what would you say in that light?
First of all, there is, of course, there. What Nigeria has first is not institutions. They are not institutions in the real sense of institutions. What we have are agencies that have not yet developed to the status of institutions.
Hmm.
And when I say institutions, I mean them in the sense that they they are not driven, personality driven, all right? They are founded on ethics, on principles, and that are in tandem with the philosophy of the country itself. And I think right now, like you can look at agency like EFCC, for instance. If you ask them like what is their blueprint, their vision for the next 25 years, you'll be shocked that they probably don't have any, right? So it's just for them, it's about doing things like using brawn over brain. But
Hmm.
institutions they revolve around the philosophy of the nation, of the government itself. You don't have all those things. No, I'm not going to blame any particular leader for say this is why corruption is in Nigeria. It's accretional. It's developed over decades. It didn't
Hmm.
even start in 1960. It started long before then. When you read Machebe's Man of the People, you are surprised at some of the things that we talk about corruption today, like stomach infrastructure and all those things that we talk about. They've existed for as long as that. People that lived in those times, they were not better than those of us that live now. But all those things, the fact that they keep recycling from generation to generation, is a major problem. I mean, that means our social institutions are not evolving very well. We are not improving, and we are stuck in some place, and that is really, really, really worrisome. Like at the end of the day, you still need some certain ideas to be able to push Nigeria forward. I think first of all is to have that leadership that understands the times, that understands Nigeria's place in Africa, Nigeria's place in the world, and understands that these are times when this is a time in history for us to be able to do a lot of things. Now there is this essay I was just reading. It's um, it's written by a Frenchman, Jeffins, where he was talking about the states in Africa,
Hmm.
and he said so far Africa is the part of the world that they've always managed to succeed through extraversion. That during slave times, you have leaders who were not training or raising their own people. They were not building people, right? What they did was to sell resources and use them to buy resources that have been produced elsewhere. And that was what they did during slavery. That's what they did during colonialism. And that's what they are still doing now. We keep importing people, right? Like rather than to build schools, build young children, build manpower, train people, right? Right at this level. But we keep looking out there, right? Everything we do now is they're imported. Food is imported, everything is imported. We keep using all those energies, we keep siphoning them
Yeah.
from elsewhere. And that is a huge, huge problem because you have a generation of people who are there who are not trained spirit, soul, and body to be able to to build the kind of country that we want to build. So basically, we have a number of problems that it's multi-headed. But I still believe that at the level of leadership, you still be able to have a panoramic view of all the things that are wrong with Nigeria. You need to be able to say, okay, how does this problem connect with this problem? How does our lack of education connect with our lack of innovation? How does our social institution, how does it connect with our other kinds of institutions? How are all these things connected, and where do we start working from? And we don't get to see that. And uh, I don't mean to sound pessimistic, but sometimes I feel like our journey is going to be very, very, very long, much longer than it is already now.
So, in summary, what you're trying to say is we don't, or the leaders we have not been able to dig deep into the root of the problem. They are just dealing with the problem on the peripheral surface.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Absolutely, yes. They deal more with symptoms of things rather than to look at it as root issues, right? Why are things the way they are? Like
Mm.
things are not just like if you look at the historical or cultural processes, things don't just appear the way they are. People just didn't wake up one morning and decide to be corrupt and to steal and things. Yes, there is a natural human instincts to want to take things, but there are also other factors like the sense that nobody feels any sense of ownership to the state. So everybody's running left, right, and center trying to plunder the state because they don't see it's nobody's money, it's nobody's future, it's an orientation you get. So you, rather than to begin to look at, oh, how can we reorient ourselves towards a very different way of thinking, or you have a sense of leadership that we have been focused on just harassing people, making a lot of noise, propaganda, just making a lot of noise. We're not going to progress that way. No country progresses like that.
I think there's a psychological disorder. Anyways, since the 1950s, when before the British people handed over or gave independence to the so-called independent independent Nigeria, in 1958, we know the elections was rigged for the purpose of fitting a particular group of Nigerians as at that point. So what I think is, I might be wrong, that we've not been able to understand the system that was handed over to us, and nobody is doing that to now debunk the Western culture or the Western democracy, or to look for a democracy that fits into our system that would work for us, or in the African context. I don't think we understand what we are doing at the moment.
Yeah, I think, yeah, there is a sense that we exist within a matrix, that we don't understand like everything that is around us. But I also think, first of all, I also think that we have all the capacity to understand it. We know all the things that are wrong, but maybe what we don't have so far is to be able to marshal all solutions and bring them together to work for us. Because you only need to scroll through social media for 1 hour and you find that Nigerians have, they are expressing all kinds of ideas, the banal, the sophisticated, but everybody's trying to understand why are we like this, right? And then you have all kinds of perspectives, the micro perspectives, people that are on the streets doing simple things and how it reflects on the larger Nigerian issue. And then there are also the bigger things that we see political in the society itself. Like for instance, the issue you raised about whether democracy that can work for us. You know, the question of whether Africa can practice democracy has been raised and debated so many times. Like, is democracy good for Africa? I I don't mean to rehash the debate, but I would say for now that's still the best thing that we have going for us. Democracy has been very good. Like, what if we throw out democracy, what do we want to replace it with? We can't go back to monarchy because it's not just possible. We can't military rule has not been very helpful for us. But yes, we should continue to tinker with what we have until we find a way to make it fit better. Which is why I buy all these ideas on, okay, let's make it a more federal structure.
Mm.
Let's restructure Nigeria. Let's begin to work towards a Nigeria. Let's have a plan. Let's have an agenda, right? Like one of the reasons I'm interested in party manifestos is always because I want to look at, okay, what's this government philosophy going to be? What's the vision that they are going to project? I remember during the 2015 election, I did an article on APC manifesto because it was they were the one that had anything like close to
Concrete.
general plan, yeah. And then I read it and I thought, okay, so what kind of country will these people build, right? With all these ideas that were all over the place. By the way, I read the CPC manifesto in 2011, so I knew it was a carryover of 2011. But then it was beginning to look like they were a serious bunch. So you wanted to know that, okay, what kind of country would they build? And then you look at it and then you realize that there's so many things that this is a kind of pseudo socialism.
Hmm.
They just want to start throwing things out. There was no complication to their thoughts, right? Like that these people have sat down and considered that they've weighed a lot of their ideas in complexity. They were just promising things. We will give you this, we'll give you that, everybody will have all this. And then when you live in a country where people have been impoverished for long, some of these things begin to sound very realistic. If there's anything I've learned is that people love simple ideas. They love black and white. Tell them like we will stop corruption. They will say yes. We will build a wall, yes. We'll make America great again, yes. Those are things that are very simple and easy to sell. But when you tell them like corruption is very difficult to stop, that we have to make massive restructuring in our systems, in the way it functions, and then there are times when you allow certain kinds of corruptions to thrive. Because if you pull the rug from under the feet, you'll be making laws that will cause people to actually be more corrupt, right?
Mm.
Let me think of this example. In trying to fight corruption, Nigeria has enabled corruption to thrive in some other ways. People begin to look for other ways to hide money. They begin to look for other ways to fleece the country.
Mm.
They begin to look for other ways they can destroy the system to be able to carry out certain acts of corruption. So there's a certain kind of corruption that until you are ready for it, you have the you have a blueprint to be able to tackle it properly. You don't even touch it. You get there's some kind of corruption that people have taken the money and then they've invested in the country. You don't go after people like that because you will destroy livelihood. You get you have to have like options first before you begin to deal with all those things. So all those ideas are very complicated.
Mm.
But if you tell people that they are not going to they're not going to buy into what you have to sell. So those are all those things that we have to keep engaging. Um, right now, the best option that we still have is still democracy. It's very costly. It's not the way we practice is still very, very, very outdated. Like I had a discussion with somebody that worked with Buhari's campaign, and he told me that they were told that they needed 10 people at each polling booth in Nigeria, and then there were 120,000 polling booths all over the country. He said just multiply 120,000 times 10. That is too. That's too much,
Mm.
right? See elections when they in the US here, it's much they have machines. They don't need all those people around. You don't have all those party agents. It's much more efficient processing and monitoring. But our systems are outdated. They are backdated back to wherever. You are not even doing electronic voting. It's mostly manual. And because it's manual, it requires a lot of manpower. A lot of things can go wrong. And therefore, it costs us a lot of money to carry out all those elections. And then you carry out all those elections, and then again, you spend so much money in court trying to fight whether somebody won or not, and then it's a very tedious process. And then you leave that one, and then when you get to power, the amount of money that you spent on that election, you try to get it back, right? Because those are invested in you, that funded your election. They're not going to roll back and play dead. They want their money back.
Mm.
And so all those things keep encouraging corruption. But suppose we begin to get more innovative with our systems, with our practices, some of those things, you eliminate costs, certain kind of costs that are not palatable. So those are some of the areas that we should keep engaging. It feels very painful sometimes, like we are not just progressing, like we just keep doing the same thing over and over again. Now,
So
God forbid,
we can conclude that we don't have change.
yeah, like it is, we are not innovating, we are not progressing, and that's very, very, it's terrible. Like the aspect of psychological aspect that you mentioned, think of it now that a child that was born in Nigeria in 1999 will grow up in 2019. And that's like 20 years, right? Between Nigeria got democracy and then the time Buhari will be contesting. And ask her, what are those fundamental changes, the big things that have happened to Nigeria, this kid has witnessed? For the most part, probably not. It's still the same thing, a lot of things recycled over and over again. And because of that, if you don't grow in a society like that where things are like getting better, you get it's still the same anger, the same angst, the same frustration. You can imagine what it does to you psychologically.
So these people, the youths are not particularly motivated because of what is in existence and what is obtainable in the system, which I think is a very bad thing, anyways. Because as we progress in the world generally, people like Zuckerberg are coming up with innovative ideas. He just came up with one Jarvis idea that the house is going to be controlled by artificial intelligence. Those kind of technological advancements. Um, I keep asking myself, how can we get to that level where education becomes the most important thing a government can now focus on. Let's say, for example, say Buhari comes in and say, okay, I'm going to make the universities in Nigeria work and just focus on that. I mean, when can we get to that level where we now cherish knowledge instead of materialism?
Yeah, that's a very good question. When do we get to that?
Mm,
It's a question of when and how also. There's a part of me that believes, and it's not conspiracy theory, that Nigerian leaders deliberately wrecked education because they need to destroy people.
mm,
I mean, if you don't have enough education, the best you can do is just to send out your raw anger. There is no bigger way of understanding it. Like people go to school and they have very, 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 very poor education. Two things. One, I went to a formal school in Ibadan in 2015, and my heart was so broken. I couldn't go beyond this. I just entered the gate and I couldn't go further because I thought if I do, I would just break down.
mm,
It was terrible. Now I look back, I realized that even when I was in school then, the conditions were not really good, but it was worse now, right? I left school almost. I left about 1998, and almost 20 years after, it's still the same thing. The students still don't have desk, no chairs. It was horrible conditions.
mm.
Now, after a while, those kids will start thinking, why are we even here? Why do we have to exist like this? And they will look for other things to distract them. I think I survived some of those conditions because my parents were teachers, and then we had homes where they made us read, focus, and then we could survive. But there are children that they don't even have support, and then it's just like that all over the country, from primary school, secondary school, and university. Yes, I do agree with you that we should do something about university education, but if you have to look at it, Nigerian education is defective right from primary school level.
Mm.
You need to go to the nearest primary school, even the so-called private schools, and you find that what this is, they are, first of all, they are not raising these children to think. They're just raising them to process things in the traditional way. Like you find that let me give this example. A friend told me that a kid was starting school. The kid was 2 years old, and then they were asking if the kid could do could count 1 to 40 or something. And I said, no, at that age, a child should not even be counting. What they should be doing now is to be reading to them, to be teaching them, to be playing, and then discovering things. Because you're supposed to be building their imagination, not rote learning. But if you do rote learning, they can count 1 to 40. They don't know anything. Even a parrot can recite 1 to 40. But to a Nigerian parent, you think, oh yeah, that means this school is working. They are teaching my child to count. But is the child's imagination, are they building the child's imagination? Is the kid learning to explore things? Do they pick up things like this and they wonder, like, how does this thing even work? Those are the things that are important. Those are the aspect of education that we need to introduce into our system. Look at Finland now. Everybody talks about their system of education. They say it's the best in the world because they don't focus so much on exams.
Mm.
They don't focus on anything. They play a lot. But they discover through play. They discover through learning. But we have been raised to believe that it's the traditional way where they hold a cane over your head and make you learn. But it's through discovery that you learn things. So our systems are defective right from primary school level. And then those primary school, they push them to secondary school. And the secondary school level push them to university. And then you get to university, you have students that they can't produce anything. Like I was telling somebody, we're having a discussion. She said she had to train herself on how to um, do things like artisanship. Like she had to raise because she found that she couldn't find artisans that had imagination. I said, the worst thing? I was watching a video of Yoruba film recently, and there was this woman that was frying gari, and then she was doing it the same way I've always known. For more than 30 years of my life that I've always seen people doing making this thing. It's the same process. Somebody sitting by the fire and
I'm
using.
frying it.
Yeah. I said, in all these times, all the university polytechnics in Nigeria did not develop simple machines to carry out some of these things. It is terrible. It means that there's something defective about our education, about our social evolutionary processes and things. It's terrible. And if you ask that, okay, so how do we begin to build education? I think that the first thing is to is of course the government, is to restore public schools. Now because there are private schools all over the place, it looks as if we have options. But the truth is there's no country that can succeed without an effective and functional public education system. And so it should be a major priority for every government. Like, let us rebuild education. Let us begin. It's not just to the schools physically, like to just rebuild the structures. You also have to build it internally, right?
Mm.
Ideas. Schools should be a place where children can grow, they can express their ideas, they can develop mentally. I fear a lot for Nigerian education, and I'll give you one more reason. When Buhari's government last year's budget, they said they were going to employ, was it 500,000 teachers?
Yeah.
Like people were unemployed, and then they will deploy them to schools. And while I think, okay, there is a sense in which, okay, when people can't find a job to have this massive employment, but at the same time, the whole idea that you have to go look for unemployed people and then use them as teachers, it shows that they're not thinking big on education. It means it's just exigencies. They're just trying to balance things. You don't have a job, then go teach, right? Teaching it becomes something for those who don't. It's a dead end thing for those who can't go further. And that is really dangerous. Education is far much more important than just to push people that have no motivation to teach.
Mm.
So that's part of the problem.
Our colleges of education as well, that raise teachers, are they still in existence? I don't.
I don't think so. I think there was a time they were converting all of them. Nigeria has a way of just changing things without asking, like, what's the purpose of this? I know my aunt, she went to a college of education and she still speaks very fondly of that place. And they gave them comprehensive teacher training in those things. Like, you learned a lot of things, they had facilities, and then like not even just school libraries and things, they had sporting facilities. That it was like a university on its own, except that that what they were doing was to teach you, train you to be teachers. But then, of course, along the line, then they began to convert some of them into was is it polytechnic or some? They carry that conversion. I'll have to check that. But the thing again is this: like sometimes in Nigeria, when they start saying that they want to upgrade polytechnics into universities, you say like it seems as people that are pushing forward some of these ideas, they are not asking themselves what the purpose of these institutions, what they are supposed to serve, right? Teacher training are supposed to train teachers, train them specifically for teaching career, right? Or just like polytechnics are supposed to provide a certain kind of education for people that will be like middle level managers. But everything, they just want everything to be upgraded into university. It's not like universities themselves are working very well as they should. They are not even properly funded. They are not getting all the resources they need. But they just keep changing all those things. No, universities should have all these a society should have different educational fragments, all these fragments, where you train certain people for certain kind of responsibilities. You should have schools where you train people for vocational training, and then you have those that will go to polytechnic, you have those that will go to university, and all of them should be able to survive in society. A place like Germany, for instance, they are big on vocational training. Yeah. It's built into their system. And you find people that they don't go to university, they chose to go to do vocational training, and then they live well. But in Nigeria, all of us just want to go to university, and then because they've narrowed all our options, you get, so it becomes a pipeline that all of us are trying to fit in. A lot of people that are not even supposed to be in university, they're supposed to be doing something else, go to teacher training or go do vocational training or go to a polytechnic, but everybody's just writing jam year in year out, and then you have this massive turnover. It's crazy. It doesn't have to be like that.
Another thing is, I think we need to debunk the ideology that you have to go through, like you said, all that rota system of learning. Because at the end of the day, when the graduate comes out and the person is not sufficiently, how would I put it, capable to function in various roles, then stuff like someone after being graduate, you now advising the person to go and be a conductor, or you get PhDs doing menial jobs for Dangote and the rest. I mean, because the system itself promotes mediocrity. So That's a very, very, very big issue that I think we need to focus on. And another thing is, I was going to ask you what you think about the celebration of the hero called Ibori.
Yeah, I think there are two ways to look at it. One is to look at the whole thing as societal decadence. We are decadent. That's it. Our values are decadent. Like in those times, well, they say I don't like all this nostalgia, like oh the good old days. But there are times they say that in our society that when somebody was accused of something like mere accusation of being a thief, it stains you and your family forever.
Mm.
You get like when we were growing up, there's this expression. They said that some things are more shameful than that. There are few things in life that are more shameful than being called a thief, right?
Mm.
Like calling a thief was a thing of shame. Like you don't want that to ever happen to you.
I think there's a
But
Yoruba proverb to that.
yeah, that reflects that. But
Mm.
nowadays, like calling people a thief is a badge of honor. Look at the picture of Banikoro, Ruben Abati, Benikayode and Koyi, EFCC, taking pictures and smiling.
Yeah.
It's a serious thing. In traditional society, they have something they call shame, right? Because when they put shame on you, it's supposed, even if you don't go to jail for what you did, shame is like putting a prison bars on you, and everywhere you go, you are labeled for life. But it's supposed to be a society saying, look, we are rejecting you for what you did. And so if you don't want that to happen to you, you avoid certain kind of behavior. But now, people that you are supposed to put shame on them, they're the ones putting shame on the society. They're laughing back at you. And that's a problem. Because by the time you send somebody to jail and he comes back and then he gets drummers, dancers, and then they begin to dance and things, then it's the society that reflects and feels shame for what they did to the person that wronged them. And that's changing your value system, and that is a really serious thing. But that's the way they did it for James Ibori, they did it for Bode George, and then it will continue to happen. I mean, after a while, it won't even make any difference to us anymore. We're still
Mm.
talking about it now because it's rare. I mean, it's once in a while, but it's a matter of time before we feel like it's no big deal, right? I mean, there is no shame to these things anymore. They stole money; they become the anti-heroes have become the heroes.
Mm.
That's the social trajectory. But if you look at it also, maybe not every one of us goes out to celebrate somebody that just returned from jail. But when we defend corrupt people because they belong to our religion or they to our tribe, we're basically doing the same thing. The difference is just that we are not going to the house to hug them like other people. When we take sides against the proper things because of our ethnic or religious sentiments are involved. Those are we are basically doing the same thing those people are doing. That's the way I say it.
I mean,
Yes.
what's it called? The other day I was reading about I was reading your article on MMM where you are
Mhm.
describing the whole psychology where there's no, maybe because of lack of employment and there's no alternative to raise money, then people are sucked into such easy schemes. I mean, politics itself has become an easy way out of poverty. So that kind of psychological disorder that most of us have, that once I go into politics, I'm going to be rich. How do we now break that ideology people have?
Well, the best thing to do is not just to break it, is to remove money from a lot of easy ways of getting it.
But how do you do that?
Yeah, it has to do with restructuring a lot of things. It has to do with automating systems. It has to do with building systems that are more efficient. Let me give you an example. I was talking to somebody that works in the Nigerian Customs Service. So he said that in his place of work, there is somebody whose job is to wait for all they have units all over the country where somebody sends a report where they write a daily report, and so you have people that in his office there are like five of them whose job is to collate all those reports. I mean, go out, wait for them, collect everything, and then compile them and give it to him, and then he types them into the computer. He said that there is no day he wakes up and doesn't think like this is this thing that they have like a dozen people compiling every day. You need just one person doing it. And all that person needs to do is to have access to email. All those outstations, just send a report by email, compile it by so time, and then all it will do is just to scan and put them in the computer. Simple. But you have all these people that loiter around, like what they do. You see, sometimes you still have to chase them to do something like that. That's all they do when they come to work,
Hmm.
just to collect files and just and hand it over to him. And sometimes they don't even do it at all. So there is a way that look, you want to fight corruption in Nigeria, you have to fight financial systems. You have to deal with banking. You have to make very, very strong laws about accepting money, about the way money flows. And when you do that, you have to make an example of a few people. You have to deal with bankers first. All those things you need it to work. And of course, you have to look at civil service. Money, look, one of the things that I learned in about is unfortunate article where he talked about demons in Aso Rock. It was unfortunate that he was attributing things to demon, but the reality of it is that ambition drives people to do some things that are terrible. Like for instance, he said a president cannot even he cannot eat food that was not made by his own townsman because he's afraid of being poisoned. But when you have people that are ambitious, everybody wants to they want to get a certain position or get a certain contract. They're ready to do anything. They're ready to kill. Nobody is safe in that kind of context. And so when you have that kind of situation, it's because there is something they are benefiting. But suppose we have all our systems that are laid out, open, right?
Yeah.
Like we have no opponents, we have transparency, that you can't move money from one place to the other like this without it showing up somewhere. Then there will be lesser stealing, right? Like in Nigeria now, when I see people talking about Ghana must go back, they use Ghana must go back to give money. You have to ask, like, but what kind of system that we run that all these monies are moved around and it's not showing up somewhere? It's not red flagged.
Hmm.
You get those are the reasons why people can steal very easily because you don't have very sophisticated system. A lot of things are manual. You're still transporting money. If I go to the governor of Texas State here and I ask for money, he probably doesn't have cash in his pocket. But now an average Nigerian politician's pocket is full of dollars. Where
Hmm.
are all those monies coming from? Where are they taking them? Where are they going to? Those are the things that you have to find a way to check them, right? And that's by building more sophisticated systems to curtail some of these things. Look at Nigeria budget, for instance. I'm still always wondering how did they pad the budget? I still don't understand it. Now, let's say, for instance, we prepare this document. This is the budget. We have like 50 copies, right?
Yeah.
And then definitely we have an electronic copy that will be saved in a computer somewhere. Then we go to the National Assembly, we hand them copies. And when they pad it, how does it show up in the electronic one that we have? You get right? Definitely there is cooperation between those who are padding and those who are executing because you have to update all the things you are padding, they have to update it. And then you look at the budget, look at all the analysis that people have been writing. This budget, and one of my friends, he sat down and read the whole document. Then he started posting things. He said they like in one page you find those that are asking for money for buying a vehicle. This one is asking for 15 million, and then another place somebody is asking for 23 billion. It depends on guts. If you have the guts, right, that's how you budget. Now if you have all those things, you have a software that can process all those things. All that you can need to do is that you ask the software to come up with all the list of cars there, and then you match prices. You get?
Hmm.
And if you see that there's difference, there's disparity, the machine will resolve it. You don't need human agents to do that. Because if you want to ask human beings to resolve a 1,700 page document, they will mess it up. So you just ask the software to reconcile all those things. Or rather, those in budget office, you can find out like, okay, how much does this thing, what's the market value? And that's the way you use to budget. And then again, last year, those that are comparing last year's budget with this year's budget, like last year, this agency bought cars. This year, they're also budgeting for cars. So if you have like more efficient system, you have a computer system that says that if your agency bought a car in 2015, you can't qualify for another one for the next 4 years. So even if you push put something in your budget that we want to buy cars. The system should strike it out that no, until the next 4 years, you're not supposed to. All these things, you cannot do it with human beings, cannot do it. It's too tedious, it's too cumbersome, it's
Hmm.
very complicated, right? That's why they keep micromanaging the economy. They're doing all these things, maybe manually. I don't
Hmm.
know. I wrote an article. I was saying that don't they have a software for preparing the budget? And then Lai Mohammed had this interview where he was saying, in fact, we use a different budget, a different software from the one they've been using before. What software do you use? At what point did you build it? Who are the builders you get? And why do these mistakes keep reoccurring year in, year out? The same thing we complain about 2016 budget is recurring in 2017 budget, and
Hmm.
recurring in 2018, 19 until nothing is done about it. I mean, the world has advanced so much that you don't need to do all these things like the way they, trying to find everything manually. It's useless.
Hmm.
There are colleges here, schools, what we call secondary schools, and they use all those softwares to manage processes. But here we are in Nigeria, still making all these petty mistakes.
I mean, it reminds me of what's it called? The book. I don't know if it's the book you were trying to remember. Thomas Piketty that wrote Capital. He said, without personal development in a particular country, um, the economy is going to suffer. So, I mean, so when you now look at the plethora of ministers we have, they are qualified. We have Adeosun Kemi. I
Mm-hmm.
think she's overqualified, and we have intellectual people that seem to know what they are doing. But at the same time, I mean, we are not ambitious. There's no way we are going to. It's just the same whole going around the same circle. I mean, why can't people like Dr. Ngozi Daken? I mean, what's going on? Like, for example, let me give you an example elsewhere. I sent my CV to because I'm passionate about new systems of education and all that. So I sent my CV to the Ministry of Education. So I got a reply saying that no, you are not welcome into this. You people will come, you go and study abroad, you come and take our jobs and all that. So there's that angst against you doing this and you want to come back to contribute. And there's another hurdle you have to cross. When you get there, it's either you play along
Mm-hmm.
or you get out. I mean, do you think those are the kind of things the likes of Ngozi faced, the likes of Kemi is facing at the moment?
Yeah, I think that there is this complication of people that studied abroad and versus Nigeria.
Mm,
I really think so. First of all, I think, before Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala became the finance minister under Jonathan, she's one of the most persons I respect most in the world, because if there is somebody that is a beacon, right?
mm,
She won. She's a lot of things. She's had this top education, top exposure, and a lot of things. But then she got sunk into the mess that was Jonathan's government. I mean, this was a woman that is like one of the most qualified in the world for what she was doing. But then again, she got into the politics of Jonathan's government. It would have been very good for her if she had stayed out of politics. I don't think that's probably possible, considering how her picture looks like. Maybe she should have stayed out of politics. Maybe she should have stayed strictly with finance. It might have been difficult, but
mm.
by the time she started saying some things, going forward and backward, throwing around false figures, you saw a woman that had already been sunk into the Nigerian's mess. And I feel that way for people that want to get into government. Look, we can't say we want a better Nigeria and not encourage good people to go into government. But at the same time, there's always that fear of they will destroy this person. And when they destroy this person with politics and with all kinds of petty issues, we will be left with nothing. I mean, those are some of those issues. I really don't want to comment about Kemi Adeosun so much because I feel like, first of all, she's handling, I don't know. Yeah, I don't want to comment whether she's handling the economy well or not, because most of the time that people criticize her, they do so because they are viewing her against Okonjo-Iweala. Okonjo-Iweala was this mega person, you get, and it would have been hard to find anybody to fill in our shoes. It would have been very difficult. So Ludo might have been another person. I mean, but Soludo also has his own baggage. Like he has a lot of baggage. And then the fact that the kind of things that Soludo released about Kunjo Iweala themselves is so messy. You get, but I feel like I refrain from criticizing Adeosun because the kind of way people criticize her is always like she speaks phone, she's not as good as Kunjo Iweala and all those things. Like I don't want to contribute to that. You get, if all those things are not there, then it's probably be more objective way of evaluating her. But then again, when we talk about coming back, so like people coming back, sometimes let's not overreach ourselves thinking that we have something that others don't have. Like times when people say things like those who are abroad should go back to Nigeria. I believe so too. That Nigerian citizens that are abroad, they can do a lot for Nigeria if they return, like in the academia alone. If all of them return and they just bring their books alone, they will change a lot of things because you have a lot of accomplished Nigerians. At the same time, I also believe that the fact that people live abroad doesn't mean that they are better than those at home in terms of values. We've seen this person, what's her name? This woman that left from Canada that went to Nigeria, headed an agency, and she was collecting 60 million naira monthly. I mean, that was somebody that was this diaspora Nigeria, right? And she's probably one of those that were complaining about how the government is this and that. And then she got there and then she started living out the same values that she has probably criticized. And that's the way it is. Sometimes when people say, oh, they should look for the best people in the world, I say yes. But don't assume that those that live abroad, they love Nigeria more than those Nigerians that live in Nigeria. There are more than, I believe, and I have no way of proving this, but I believe that there are more Nigerians in Nigeria right now who can solve what's wrong with Nigeria right now. They have capable hands, as in you meet Nigerians that live in Nigerians, and then you know that you're dealing with very capable people who are passionate about Nigeria, who have ideas, who look, you just need to put them in the right place and then they will begin to do things. So those are things to consider. The idea that okay, that those that are living abroad can solve Nigeria's problems. I believe that they can come in terms of funds and finance and things. Last year, 2016, they said Nigeria sent $35 billion home. And consider that that was the year that the exchange rates was so horrible that people were going through back channels. You know, the money could even be much more. So Nigerians that are abroad can help with finances. You can push that kind of money to, I mean, they support the economy with that kind of money, and then you can push them to do much more, right, in terms of resources and things. But when it comes to like, okay, we should bring in people, da 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 da, I don't believe that we should be fixated at when people are abroad they have exposure of things. Now let me quickly give another example. You know this guy that was appointed by Trump, this Nigerian Ogulesi.
Yeah.
All right, when they announced it, you have people like, hey, that's the kind of person Buhari should go for. Those are the kind of people. And I thought, well, first of all, the mistake Nigerians were making was that every new American president makes at least 4,000 appointments. You get, every time they change the whole system. And when they do that, they will have committees and things. This guy was just one member of the committee. He happened to be a Nigerian. No big deal. I mean, there was no big deal about the appointment, but Nigerians have a way of making a big deal out of things. But what struck me was the fact that people automatically assumed that because he was going to be on a committee advising Trump on US economy, that he was automatically qualified to consult on Nigerian economy. It doesn't mean that he had the competence. You get. He could have it and he might not have it. It's not a given that because that somebody lives abroad, they understand what is wrong with Nigeria or they can even solve the problem. Although the same thing can obtain for Nigeria, the fact that somebody lives in Nigeria doesn't mean they understand the issues. At the end of the day, what you need is to go for the best qualified people and you have to take them through process to know whether you have to vet them to know whether they are qualified. But automatically because they live abroad doesn't mean that.
Yeah. One word before we go.
Okay.
If you had to describe a way we could move forward, if there was a word for you to use, what would you say?
In one word, I would say move.
All right.
That's just move. Like when I say move, yes, I mean like first of all, we should not become complacent or despair or lose hope or give up and say this is never going to work.
Yeah.
Nation building also can be very, very, very difficult. So yes, Nigeria might be going through all these pains and difficulties and this period now, but we shouldn't give up on ourselves. We
Mm.
should keep, because we don't even have options, right? If we, it's like this lepers in the Bible. They say if we stay here, we will die. If we go to the gate, we will die. So why not just take a risk? So the thing is, just move, live
So
where you are.
what would you say to the people that are clamoring for separationists and Nigeria splitting and going their separate ways?
Well,
Is that a move? Is that a move as well?
in a sense, yes.
Okay.
But I think sometimes maybe people are so focused on the fact that these people are asking for separation. They are not asking like what underlines the cry for separation. How come this thing started after Goodluck Jonathan lost the election? And in case you want to say, oh, they are feeling bad at because they lost the election, da 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 da. How come it's the South? It's not even the South South, right? Jonathan was from South South. So if there's anybody that should say, oh, we are done with Nigeria, we are walking away because Jonathan lost the election, maybe it should have been South South, but it's coming from the Southeast. So maybe it's not so much, maybe it's not all the reasons we think it is. Maybe there are so many other things that are making them angry. And right, whether they are right or wrong, wrong in code, the fact remains that they've been able to, they have moved. Yes, actually, they have been able to get certain, look, people have died, and the fact that people have been killed is the sad part of it. But they've been able to get attention, they've been able to call attention to their cause and be able to make certain arguments. And in fact, their presence revives certain argument about restructuring Nigeria. Right? We talk more about it now when we talk about Biafra and things. So I think in that sense, they are doing something, right? Ideologically, they are pushing some ideas. So in some sense, yes, it's moving. Maybe if you ask them, like if you break it down and say, do you really want to live in Nigeria? Maybe they will say no. But they are pushing, they are angry about something, they are angry about the way Nigeria is. And that's what's reflected in their attitude.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for your
Thank
time.
you. Thanks for having me.
No
Absolutely.
problems.
Thank you.